Hello, my name is Veron Nichols, and I chose for this week's assignment scenario 2, in which a mother of a 17-year-old Caucasian female has asked me to see her daughter because she continues to defy the rules of the house by staying out late, avoiding family time. When she is home, she only stays in her room, and she's giving up all of her regular friends for a new set of friends that are, they're not involved in anything at school. They dress funny. Her grades have slipped. She stated that nothing really matters in life anyway. The client reports that her father is very strict and yells a lot. The client also states that her mother is overreacting and she does not need to see a point to all the pressure to be successful in school if she's going to be some man's slave anyway. Just on the surface, I would say that she sounds kind of depressed. I think that her parents aren't listening to her. What the client's problem would be is, she doesn't feel like anyone's listening to her. Her parents are judging her. She feels pressure to be successful, or what her parents deem to be successful. And I think she fears ending up with a man like her father. In the last part of the scenario, when she says some man's slave, I believe she's referring to the way her father behaves, because she said he's very strict, and her parents have a different issue or a different view of the subject. I just think it seems her mom's bringing her in because she's staying out, she's isolating herself from family, and they don't approve of her new friends, so they're trying to fix those issues. When I don't feel like that's the real issue. Those are reactions. Some of it might just be because she's 17. She's growing up. She's getting new ideas, and that's why I chose the cognitive theory. The assumption of the cognitive theory is that thoughts are the primary determinants of emotions and behavior. It's not always perfect because it doesn't allow for biological differences. Say if someone was autistic and they, depending on where they are in the autistic spectrum, if you're nonverbal, I don't really see this being the easiest way to go. I would say behavioral, because you're going to be able to modify those behaviors. But I do like it. I feel like it's perfect for most situations because it does consider free will. For me, free will is why people have spent hundreds of years trying to figure out what it is what makes humans do what they do, what drives us, what makes us tick. Why are we here today? Trying to figure out why this girl's why she's behaving like this. I feel like if we were all machines and the conditions were perfect for each person, if you could make the conditions perfect for each person, according to the behavioral theory, because our environment influences how we behave, or we can control behaviors through our environment. Then we could make everyone's environment the same, and everyone would be the same. And I just have a hard time thinking that we're all machines. I believe that we all exist in, humans aren't black and white. We're mostly gray. We live in the gray areas. But anyway, I feel like this theory is great for the situation because it's, there is a clash of emotions, and it's the result of the thoughts of the 17-year-old girl who's not a child anymore. And I feel like she's trying to express herself in ways that are unfamiliar to her parents. They're used to viewing her a certain way and behaving a certain way. And while it may not always be perfect, they know who their child is. And as kids grow, their friends change, their environments change, who they're hanging out with changes. But in this description, the father's always used to being very strict and yelling a lot. So he's used to being in control of the situation, and her independent thinking and behaving outside the norm is a threat to his control of the household. I don't think he believes that she's intentionally trying to take over the household, but if you're performing a dance and someone changes the dance steps on you, then the dance is going to look ugly. So right now he doesn't know what dance she's doing, and it's mostly because she's growing as a person and he hasn't accepted that. And that's going to be one of the obstacles I feel for treatment for the girl and her family. In no particular order, I just think it'll be a lack of communication on the girl's part. and her parents are trying to bring her to therapy, which I hope they aren't, to fix her. I mean, the language she uses towards the end of the scenario, she doesn't believe there's a point to expressing herself to her parents because they don't agree with what she's doing, and she doesn't agree with their view of success. I mean, she views success in their eyes, or I don't know if she's referring to her mom or her dad, but just being some man's slave. She knows they disapprove of her friends and her choices, and at that age, your friends they play a more important role than they did previously. And you're 17, you're going out, you're hanging out with your friends, and so they have more influence over you than your parents might. And depending on what their motives are for bringing her to therapy, the parents could be another hurdle for treatment. If they brought her in to get her to step in line or to fix her, they aren't necessarily open in helping their daughter express herself and perhaps improving their family dynamic. And all this can be, put out there in the initial assessment. After the initial assessment conversations, it's something that you want to address with both of the parties about these possible issues. There's no sense in sort of masking it or dancing around things that might slow down the treatment process. Obviously you want to approach everything in a respectful manner so as not to get everyone defensive or place blame, but just highlight possible obstacles. And the expected outcomes for this are just the same for each, would be the same for each patient. It should be just to address the issues they're struggling with and, try to help them understand. But in this particular scenario, I feel like it's twofold. Get the parents to respect their daughter for her individuality and try understanding what her actions are trying to tell them. She's a child. She's not a machine, and she's not something that needs to be fixed. Ultimately, at the end of the day, how each individual perceives what the issues are and their part in it will be the most important factor to determining how well this will be successful. I believe the young lady's relationship with her father and her view of her mother, perhaps being a slave to her father, is sort of been something that's probably driven her to sort of pull away. And that is